What's going on, YouTube? It's your girl, Jay Natisse here, and I am back with a recap of Life After Lockup. This is season 5, episode 11, because I can't keep track no more. It's like 46, I believe. But the name of the episode is Love Bombing. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we pick up where we left off with Key Rock and Brittany trying to get married at the park. Um, Brittany is all of a sudden like, Key Rock, I have to tell you something. So they go off to the side, and she pretty much tells Key Rock about what the PO said, that how it's not a good idea for them to get married just so she could go to Texas, because Texas may think that it's a fraud because she's still on parole and all that stuff. And Key Rock's like, why didn't you say anything earlier? Oh, and on top of that, Brittany does not want to get married, just elope in the park like this. She wants to have a big wedding with all their friends and family. And he's like, so why all of a sudden are you now telling me this? And she's like, well, it wasn't that short notice. Like, girl, you knew for like at least a few days. It was short notice. You don't just all of a sudden during the wedding be like, oh, wait a minute, hold up. I mean, I guess you do, on TV. However, Key Rock goes to tell the officiant that his services are no longer needed, and he just goes off somewhere. We never see the officiant again. They go back to Coffee's apartment, and Coffee, they get out the car and all that stuff. So it's the next morning, and Key Rock is like, well, I'm going to Texas anyway. So he's packing, and Brittany's like, oh, you're not packing. Where you going? Why don't you just wait a week? Blah, blah, blah. And Key Rock's like, leave me alone. And he goes outside, and Brittany's like, all right, so I'm going to go outside with you. You walking, I'm walking with you. So they're outside talking, and so it's getting a little heated, but it's not getting all that heated. Key Rock's talking about like, oh, like they're gonna see us arguing and call the cops. And Brittany's like, ain't nobody gonna call the cops. And he's like, well, I've been locked up 7 years. Like, I'm sorry if I'm a little, paranoid. Pretty much they agreed to wait. Key Rock agrees to wait another week to move, and that's pretty much their segment. Moving on. Kim and Joey, we'll get them out the way, child. So Kim and Joey go to a lawyer's office. They're just trying to figure out their options. Kim is saying that she's still legally married to her ex-husband. So if they decide to buy a house, what would be could he get the house? And the lawyer's like, kind of, sort of, kind of. Technically, yes, but he'd have to go through a lot of hoops to even do all that. Kim says that she's been legally separated for a year in the state of North Carolina. To get a divorce, all you need is to be legally separated for a year and to be a resident of North Carolina. So Kim pretty much has a go ahead, so I guess she's going to file soon, whatever. Kim also talks about how that her husband may not be the father of Kaysen. I believe Kaysen's her oldest. Like, he may not be the father. And if that is the case, does he still have rights? Like, if it turns out that he's not the father, does he still have rights to the child? And the lawyer pretty much tells her that technically, like, since he signed the birth certificate, he probably does. Or from my understanding, he would, but they'd have to like get all that changed over to, like, if Joey was the father, to get all that stuff changed over. She did mention, however, that if it turns out that Kaysen is not her ex-husband, we gonna say husband because she's not divorced yet. If it's not her husband's child and he has been paying child support, but anything, like, if it's not his, any child support he's paid, they'd have to pay him back. And Kim was like, what? She's like, that's what I used to like feed my kids and all that stuff. And the lady had to be like, hey, that's for your kid. I mean, so anyway, when they gonna tell us the results of this DNA test? Like, don't wait till the end of the season. Like, just, it don't take that long. Maury used to do it in 42 hours. So come on, chop chop. So Z and Troy, they go to a dispensary. Marijuana is legal in New York and in New Jersey. I went to a dispensary once. It was cool. I actually went recently because actually they did not legalize marijuana until I left New Jersey and I left in 2021. I don't partake, but but I went to the dispensary actually last time I was home, so in April, and it was pretty cool. It was cool. So they're seeing all the varieties. Like there was like this love edible or something that's supposed to enhance the sexual stuff, and then the sleep. There was like sleep and energy and all these different strains. It's very like again. I went and I was just looking at all the different types. It is definitely interesting. So Troy gets his pre rolls and they head over to the park. And Z is talking about, how grateful she is that Troy adopted Ashael, who's her 11-year-old son. And she's like, his, sperm donator isn't in the picture. So she's really, really grateful to Troy. And Troy gets overwhelmed. He starts tearing up because, he just wants to be a good dad. And that's what's up. So Z's talking about, having a kid. And she's like, would you want another kid? And he's like, well, it's not really the time right now. We're trying to build. We're trying to like, remember last few episodes, they in debt. So now you're talking about bringing another baby. So Z, I'm going to need you to get your priorities in order. Okay. So like Troy's talking about, it's not time and all that stuff. And in the confessional, Z tells us like she was on birth control and it made her break out really bad. And y'all been getting on Z's skin for the longest. So I guess that was a result of the birth control. She says that she is not taking any form of birth control and she has not told Troy. So she gets pregnant. She gets pregnant. We finna see. Now, so it's the next day or a few days later, and Troy and Ashael are getting ready to go to the science museum. So a good dad and son day. And then Troy's mama calls and she's like, we have a problem. And then that's the end of their segment. Teenie and Rob, after the argument, Rob walks out. He comes back in. Teenie admits that she was being real, real petty with that, talking about his tattoo and all that. Um, so she apologizes. Rob goes out to meet his dad, Rob Sr. Rob Sr. looks just like Rob looks just like his dad. And it's crazy because Rob Sr. is a little short little thing and Rob is mad tall. So they kicking it, going to play a game of basketball. And after the game, he sits down and he's telling his dad about the altercation between his mom, Kate, and Teenie. Rob's dad in the confessional is like, I'm not really surprised. Like we were really young when we had Rob, and it seems like she's just stuck in like that teenage or like early 20s mentality. So she's hella immature. And they're talking about breaking generational curses because Rob wants to be a good dad and a good example for Nehemiah, so he doesn't end up in the same path as him. Rob has taken on the responsibility of taking care of Teenie's children and being a father to her children because Cheyenne's dad passed away when she was about 1 year old, and Nehemiah's dad has just unfortunately never been in the picture. So they're having a date night, Teenie and Rob. They leave the kids. They're like, pizza's on the way. We out. They're having a date night and they're talking about, they're just talking about stuff. Then the conversation of having a baby comes up and they're both ready to have a baby. Teenie's like, I'm 34. My biological clock is ticking. I'm also 34. I understand. Anyway. Before I get into that, Teenie got a job, y'all. Teenie got a job as a paralegal. We see the interview, and the interviewer was like, is it good if we start you at 50? And she's like, that sounds great. So I was like, is that 50K or is that 50 an hour? Either way, that's pretty cool. They in Oklahoma, so I'm sure things ain't that expensive. So at the conclusion of date night, they go back to the house, and Rob's like, "Get out!" Tells the producers to get out, and gives gives the cameraman the condoms. So guess they about to have a baby child. Daniel and Bianca are getting on my nerves. More so Bianca. Daniel finally got a job, y'all. So shout out to Daniel. That's what's up. Bianca's still not working, child. Remember, she got that settlement from that accident she's in. I don't know how much she has, but apparently she ain't got to work. However, Daniel now has a job. He's working with a moving company, and he's got to get to work. And Bianca's like, I really don't feel like driving you to work and all that stuff. Give me a minute because we I'll wait to give it to Bianca. I'll wait. So she drops him off at work. He's working with a guy named Gary and another guy. I forgot his name, but it's Gary's business. He started his own moving company, and he tells us how he pretty much started it from the ground up because, like Daniel, Gary was also locked up. He was locked up, and when he got out of jail, the only person that would give him a job was his dad. So he explains that he started just like he bought a little hoopty truck and just started like moving furniture, and then there goes his company. So that gives Daniel inspiration. So Bianca's out and about, and she FaceTimes her friend and former roommate Haley, the one she said was her best friend, also the one she said is jealous of her. Okay, moving on. She was like, I miss you. And he was like, I miss you too. And she's like, oh, yeah, you got to come visit. And Haley's like, would Daniel be cool with that? And Bianca's like, well, I pay all the bills, so it doesn't matter what he says. Bianca, this man just got out of jail. It's literally his first day of work. You expect him to miraculously start paying the bills? She's like, I'm starting to feel like Daniel's sugar mama. Like I was giving him all this money when I went to jail. You chose to give him that money. You chose to give him money. So why are you complaining like that you're giving him all this money? And she's like, I have to give him rides to work and all that stuff, and I don't feel like doing it. Come to find out, because Daniel got locked up for drunk driving, that he can't get a license while he's on parole. So toughen up, Buttercup, or he's just going to have to ride share like he did when he got home from work. Here's my thing with Bianca. Bianca's delusional. Bianca is delusional because she thinks like that everything, like since he's out of jail, oh, he gonna get a job like that. Oh, we about to get married like that. Like, girl, these things take time. Like, you know how tough it is to get, well, she may not know, but it's tough for felons to get jobs. Like, come on, man. Like, you getting on my nerves, Bianca. Bianca, you truly are getting on my nerves. Mind you, she's at the store and Daniel gets off of work and he's calling her and calling her and calling her, and she's just letting the phone ring and not answering. So Daniel finally gets a ride share home. He gets an Uber home. And in the confessional, he's like, yo, like, if you don't want to pick me up, just say that. Like, don't, like, you're so immature, Bianca. If you don't want to pick the man up, just say that shit. Like, damn, just be like, I don't feel like picking you up. Like, I'm tired, or whatever she's been doing all day. She ain't got no job. So, so what was you doing all day? Anyway, so he gets the Uber home, and he comes home. He's all sweaty and he sits on the couch, and she's like, "Really, Daniel? Like, girl, it's his house. Let the man sit. And if he wants to sit his funky ass on the couch, let him sit his funky ass on the couch. Is he supposed to get in the shower right away? I'm just saying." Like, listen, sometimes I get home from work. I mean, I got a desk job, but I live in Texas. It's hot, sweaty. Sometimes I don't hop in the shower right away. Sometimes I just need to sit on my couch and unwind. It's my house. It's my couch. So, whatever. My bad, y'all. Let me look at my notes. Daniel said that the Uber was like $30, so they clearly live, far. And he's like, well, maybe we should move closer to the job site. Bianca then talks about she bought some little craft thingy that they could do together. And Daniel's like, oh, cool, whatever. How much was it? And she's like, it was like $130. And Daniel's like, what? Like, damn, I just got a job. Like, Bianca asked him how much he's going to be making. He said he's going to be making $20 an hour, which is cool, but it's only part time. So she's like, well, I thought it'd be full time. Like, girl, like you chose to be with a man who just got out of jail. You think he's going to get a CEO position right away? Like, what? Where is your brain? Where is your brain, Bianca? I'm done. Moving on, because I'm done. Justine and Michael ain't going to be long either. They get back from the lawyer's office. She says that she stands on her decision, like, God forbid something happens to her, that Kylie would take Santana and Bentley. Then whatever. So later on in the episode, we find out that unfortunately Mike's mom's house caught on fire back in Rhode Island. So she's coming to Vegas to live with them. Now, if you remember, Justine and Mike's mom were cool. They were actually friends. And then all of a sudden, Mike's mom wanted a paternity test on Manhattan and all this stuff. So now they ain't all that cool no more. And they have not told anybody that Justine is pregnant. So Mike is going to pick up his mom she took 2 trains and a bus to get to Vegas from Rhode Island. So Mike's going to pick her up. Justine's at home with the kids, and she's like, okay, when your grandma gets here, y'all, greet her and all that stuff, and I'm gonna go hide. Mike's daughter Melanie, I like me some Melody child. I'm sorry. She was like, man, she's like, you a grown woman. Just face it. And also, let me backtrack a little bit. They had a scene in the grocery store that, that they were just saying, like, how Mike's mom and Justine used to be friends and all that stuff. And it was cool. Anywho, Mike's mom gets to the house. She's greeting the kids. She sees the baby. And of course, she's so in love with her new grandchild. She's hugging on the baby, holding the baby. Justine's in the backyard sitting on the swing with a blanket over her. And Mike's mom comes to hug her, and she's like, hi, how you doing? They hug. Now, Mike's mom, she had a blanket over her, but you couldn't tell she was a little fuller in the face. Because at this point, Justine is good and pregnant now. She's got to be like 6 months at this point, 6 or 7 months. So she finally, Mike's mom goes and, continues holding the baby. And Justine finally stands up. And Mike's like, Ma, look. And all you see is Mike's mom like this. And the episode goes off. Y'all. It was a good episode. It was better than last week's, but it's still just a lot of this, like, don't even need to be an hour. It could be a good, like, 30, 45 minutes. A lot of filler. So, whatever. If you're new here, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for the support for the channel. Just please keep liking, sharing, subscribing. We trying to get big here. We trying to get big. But anyway, thank you once again for tuning in, and I'll catch y'all on the next video. Later.